Hello and welcome to another episode of The Modern Nerd. I'm Tim Bolin,
Finds merchandise.
I'm GJC.
and we are, as always, massive nerds. Now, we are back finally after a brief 2 to 3 week hiatus.
Not my
Some of us
fault.
were out of
Not my
town, some
fault.
of us were just
You don't
not
put that on
watching
me because I was out
things.
of town.
It's fine.
I was
Some of
able
us
to
weren't caught
record.
up on everything. It's all good. It's
How are you
all
gonna
good.
put that on me? I was ready to
One
go.
of
I
them,
asked every
one of
week.
them was on me. Last week I said I'm not doing it this week, so it's all good. It's
It's
all
fucking.
good.
You seen this?
But we're back and we've got plenty of stuff to talk about. All exciting things. At least 3 shows, at least a few shows to go over, and possibly a fourth. We'll see how it goes, depending on time. We're trying to keep these to an hour. I just got my standard boba delivery on cam that usually happens every episode.
I'm gonna sit back because this seems like we're in for the long haul.
So, we are gonna go over Stranger Things finale, the season 4. Miss Marvel finally wrapped up, which was a nice little thing. Thor, we all managed to see Thor before this recording, and if we have time, we're gonna get to the boys. Now, I will preface Dan hasn't seen it. I will also preface all of this with spoilers. This is a full spoiler episode, as if there ever were an episode where we don't spoil things, but this is spoilers ahead. So if you haven't seen Stranger Things, Miss Marvel, Thor, or The Boys this season or this movie, please go watch those. Come back, check out what you get your opinion on them, and then listen to ours and compare. We'll compare notes in the comments. It'll be great. We'll have conversations like we're all face to face like it was 2017. Um I let's ooh, I don't know where to start because everybody has one thing they want to talk more about than
Describe
the
them.
other. So we should have discussed this, in the preamble, but we didn't. So we're gonna just go into Stranger Things because I said so.
Mm.
Um Stranger Things season 4, part 2, if you will. The last 4 hours of Stranger Things in 2 wonderfully long episodes. Um, I was a little concerned going into it because the last thing that did something like this was Game of Thrones, and we all remember how that went. Um, I had a little bit more faith in the Duffer Brothers than those other two, and they did not let me down. Um, it definitely felt like 4 hours, but I enjoyed it. I did truncate it, unfortunately. I had to step away. I watched the first episode. I watched, like, 40 minutes of the first episode, and I didn't finish it right off the bat, so I had to sit back down and watch the last, like, half hour, 20 minutes, whatever it would be, which kind of it messed up my viewing, but I still was able to get into it and feel the emotions going into the final part, the 2.5 hour long season finale, which, man, they did everything they possibly could in those 4 hours, and they really didn't leave a whole lot on the table. They in that they set everything up for the next season, and they set it up very clearly for the next season, which they really haven't done too much in the
Mm.
previous seasons. This one is
Indeed.
like it may as well have just said to be continued at the very end because it really feels like they're just going to dive into it, hit the ground running in the next one. So hopefully
Running up
they
that road,
started
running up
yeah,
that hill,
what?
running up that road, running
Right?
up that hill.
Hopefully it would have been great if they had started filming and everything, but we know they haven't, which is like I got to breathe on that one because it's just going to take it takes so long to make these
Yeah,
shows with this budget, and they're still everyone's still battling COVID and have to go through procedures, so it still takes longer than it used to 4 or 5 years ago. So now we got to wait another year at minimum before we get this. But that being said, I had a great time going through all of Stranger Things till the very end. It it changed from the beginning to the end. It felt like the beginning, the first half of the season really felt like this old school kind of Stranger Things. Like it really did feel old school, like the kind of horror base, kind of building on the suspense and kind of digging into that a little bit more. and then it changed and was a little bit more action and a little bit more emotional. I really was tied in with these characters. We're in the fourth season now. Even with the new character Eddie Munson, I was still really involved and invested in this character, and it was it was a payoff. It wasn't what anyone wanted, but knew was coming, and in one of my
I didn't.
opinion, in one of the grandest fashions of a scene, as you can see on our layout here, there was a Metallica concert on the top of a trailer in the middle of a red lightning storm being chased by bats. Like, I don't giant weird creatures. I don't know what else you want from something like that. It check, check, check every little box on my list
Um,
of awesome ways to go out.
to survive that.
Yeah, that would
That's
have been
that.
nice.
Yeah.
And to survive after when he died, the only gripe I have about that is when he died, he didn't need to be distracting them anymore. Like the distraction had already played its part, and he could have
Yeah,
stopped and
yeah.
hid. That was the only kind of I was like, why is he still
From a
whatever?
character
I
standpoint, he
get
had
it.
something to prove still, and so he
Sure.
did.
And that was the whole thing. You've got Eddie Munson, who in the 80s, when D&D was gaining traction and some mainstream attention, it really was considered one of the, like a cult following. It was
Mm.
stuff of Satan. Gygax was the Antichrist, and like there was so much hate that there was like a religious group going after them to try and slander the name of anyone that was playing it because they thought it's not what they believe in. It must send people to hell. It's a whole nother conversations, but they did a great job in tying that narrative into the story to give people who grew up in that era something else to latch onto, to really feel a part of this story, which I liked. Who was the bad guy? I don't even remember his name. He
Vecna.
got one. What? No, 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 no. The Chrissy's ex-boyfriend, the
Oh,
jock, the head of the
the the
basketball team.
the 25-year-old.
Yeah, you're right. He got one of the most unceremoniously just brush off your shoulder deaths I've seen in this show in a long time. Did anybody
I
catch it?
mean,
Like,
yeah,
I
I
was,
caught it, and at that point
I was like, "Ugh."
I was so heartbroken that I was just like, I don't care. Like, if this is really happening, if Max is really dead, right
Ugh,
after Eddie's death, which was fucking devastating, I was like, great, like too little, too late for this, like what should have been a very satisfying death. So
yeah.
I mean, ultimately, we saw what happened at the end, so we're not sure what's going to happen ultimately with Max, but uh, yeah, I don't know. That should have come earlier when it would have been a little bit more like gratifying to the audience. Like, I was too heartbroken in the moment.
Yeah,
Like,
I really wanted something satisfying. Like it's not in character for anybody in the show. I wanted Lucas to beat him to death.
sure,
Just
that would have
literally
not been
beat
that,
him to a pulp. It
that
would have
would
been
not been
amazing.
good.
No, it wouldn't have been good if they were all man, that Max scene was I was just like
Yeah,
Not
just
Max.
crying and
right
just
after Eddie, right
right?
after Eddie. That was
Which
I was like, you're not gonna. I
it was
that almost in a way made me think, okay, to do this two in a row,
yeah.
something's going to happen. I don't think they would do that
I just
personally.
it I felt like it was a disservice to Eddie because it was an emotional beat for Eddie, don't get me wrong, but with Max, like a core member of the group at this point, I was just like, wow, like now it just completely kind of overshadowed the last scene because it really it felt more, there was it was Lucas and Elle was watching like through the mind whatever the piggyback and all that kind of stuff. So to me, that's just where I'm coming from. Not everyone's gonna see it that way, and that's fine. But yeah, I'm glad that they kind of went in the direction they did with Max, where I guess 11 can sort of bring people back from the dead, kind of now. That's a thing she can do, I guess.
Bit much, but I'll take it because
At
I'd
least
rather
she's not
have
like,
that.
I'm okay, let's go, let's run a marathon. She's
Right,
like
right,
still like
right.
recovering and all that. So,
Oh God.
but I guess it speaks to that we didn't really fully maybe Elle didn't really fully discover her powers until this moment and had to be thrown back in because now she truly knows who she is. She went through was it Nina? That machine where she's sensory deprivation and had to relive her own
Mm,
memories and all that kind of
mm.
stuff and like we find out finally we found out at the end of the part 1 what happened with her, and one, I guess, and Vecna, in that she opened, like, it looks like she opened the first gate to send him into the Upside Down. So I guess she realized her true potential. So maybe that's explore some of that.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the way they did it. It really there's too many good scenes. I'm gonna have to come back. Someone else go. I'm just gonna pick apart the whole
I
fucking
have a
thing,
few
and we'll be
random
here
things that
for
you didn't mention that I thought
do it, please.
about that I enjoyed. Pizza saves the day, dude. Like the fucking pizza dude using his like using his pizza connections to save the day, dude,
So
and
funny.
get 11 in that big. I mean, it's funny how like
Free pizza, dude.
yeah, like there's things that
Pizza, dude.
there's a reason why certain characters are introduced now. Like there is definitely a formula in this show, right? You're going to introduce some people and like there's a good chance new people will die, and that's just something we've come to know on shows like this in general. But I think when he showed up on the show and he was like following me, I'm like, something is gonna come from this pizza dude. I don't know why,
Yeah.
other than the van that he's providing, which is mighty important because mode of transportation, let's be honest. Like they drove across America in that van. So I knew that there was gonna be something to do. Like I love the little foreshadowing of it because they see another one of the pizza places when they drive by and they're like, hey, I didn't know we were out here. Like, it's
My
just
dude.
yeah, like dude, like but dude, like
My
dude,
dude, I would love to help you, but like I'm supposed to go
Okay,
hang
yeah.
out with my lady.
Yeah,
My
like
dude, you think we're gonna do this we're giving you nothing?
yeah, like it was just
Needed comedy relief.
Yeah, it was-
during a
and,
pretty
you
heavy
know,
season.
So there was that. I love the fact that I don't know if we talked about it last time, but also like Susie was in it, and they were like, "Are you gonna like?" And Susie's like the smartest person they know because, and they're like, "Are you?"
She's
gonna
still not
question-"
with the gang, by
I
the
know,
way, which is
she's still
hilarious.
not-
Like, come
it's-
on,
we
get her
gotta
in
have
there.
that
Like,
payoff eventually, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
But I feel like
Put
it's
her in,
great because
coach.
they're like, "Are you gonna are you gonna argue with like a genius, like a literal genius?" Like,
Loved it. I love the
That was
respect.
good. That was good.
I guess I understand, like, I think, like, Vecna had to have even a higher, the character itself, not before you found out even who he was, that he had to have, like, a higher stake than just being, like, quote unquote, a 5-star general, if you will. There was more to it because you kind of saw that little bit of foreshadowing when Hopper saw the Wisp, and you're like, wait a minute, like, how did they get that here? Why is that even here?
Right.
Like,
Is that the mind flare?
yeah,
that's
like that
happening
looks
right
a lot
now?
like a lot of what you see. Like it's weird because for the first time you saw something that wasn't just the Hellhound, right? You know, that was a Chimagorgon. Like most of the time,
Demigorgon?
yeah, we saw the Chimagorgon
Chupacabra?
or whatever you call it. You saw that instead, the little hounds instead of the
Oh
mind
yeah,
flare.
yeah,
dogs.
yeah.
Yeah. And finally, I was a little bit disappointed. Like, I don't know if anyone remembers what happened in season 2. Do you remember what happened in season 2 with
Barely
Al?
remember what happened in season
That was
Stranger
the
Things.
Demidog season. With
Okay,
the
so
Mind
Stranger
Flayer a little
Things,
bit.
there was an episode where Elle goes to Chicago
Yes.
and she finds somebody else who has another escaped
Yes.
child who has that, and like
Well,
we
right.
like have conveniently forgotten this character and we haven't seen her ever since. I think she's number 5.
Well, that's because that's probably the most shit on Stranger Things scene or like sequence in all of the show's history.
Mhm.
Everyone like constantly is saying like this was completely unnecessary. What is with this makeover she got? And while I more or less agree, I do think they were trying to go for something with this other character they introduced, and I think since it was so poorly received, I think they kind of just let it fade
go.
out into the
Wow.
into the darkness, unfortunately, which
That's
is
so
too bad
sad.
because I was curious to see
I was
what
curious
might come
too.
of that. But that's kind of my inclination. I don't know if that for a fact, but that's just what I'm.
We'll see. Well,
Makes
I
sense.
hope that eventually pays off, but also, yeah, it's mostly Susie, and of course all the stuff that Tim said about Eddie and all that. I mean, the guy's freaking amazing. He's like that character, and the actor did such a great job with that character, and like just
so
the
good.
absolute
Dude.
like
Full of
lunacy of
life.
that character. And one of my favorite parts is when they're looking for music and she's listing off all his tapes and she's like, "What is this? I need music." And he like hands her a handphone. It's like, "This is music."
That's
And
like
you're like,
that's
"Oh
that's
man."
been me
Amen.
since I was like 14,
You know?
15 years old trying to explain punk rock to people. I'm like, "No, it's music." My parents are like, "I don't understand." I'm like, I don't care." Oh man. Man, I had something and then I lost it. Um, yeah. I think it's really funny how, and this isn't the only show to do it, how like only a couple of adults really understand what's happening. Like this whole
Hmm.
season was this manhunt for Eddie Munson,
Hmm.
right? Thinking that he's killed these people, and like these kids, they know what happened. Obviously, you know, the Hellfire Club, they understand what's going on, but there's so much like national press about Hawkins that like it just makes it like for moments for me just a little bit, and then probably the next scene will pull me back where I'm like, this is not really that believable. Like when they're all in the room in someone's house, like I want to say it's like Nancy's house or um the Wheelers. I feel like it's the Wheelers' house, and they're being interrogated by the cops like one by one. This is a few episodes ago. They talk to
Right.
Max and then they let him go. They're just like able to walk around the house
Yeah,
freely, and
there was
then
a lot
like
of
they
things
let him
wrong with that,
out. And I
but
was like, there's moments like that where I'm like, all right, you got to move the story along, so I get it. But
yeah.
like, you know, it's like, why have that scene if you're just gonna
Hmm.
just skip
Yeah.
it? But other than that, like, it's still like it's it. Stranger Things is the saving grace for Netflix because they really don't have anything else going on,
Wow.
and they're losing subscribers left and right. They're upping their prices, they're getting rid of password sharing, and Stranger Things is keeping people with it. And so I think secretly, I think you know, conspiracy theory alert, that they delayed the push, the release date of Stranger Things to give people something to want so that they wouldn't leave. And
Okay.
then next year we get one last one, and then what? What are
Yeah,
you
right.
gonna do? Like
There,
And
what?
I
then
feel
Game
In
of
like
Witcher,
Thrones.
The Witcher's your
Yeah.
next best show, and
they're pushing a
I
lot
can only get
for.
you so far.
That's the thing is like I think there is also a move for them to put on like better quality like movies too for themselves, like in studio in-house movies. Like they want to have an Adam project like every quarter. Like that's the goal.
They
Every
do.
quarter they
They
want to have
have
an Adam
movies every
project
quarter.
movie.
I
Like
mean,
but an Adam
some
project
of
is
them are
like a
getting
big
better.
like an Adam project is like a very success. That's like their bar.
Right.
Like that's a very
That was
successful.
successful.
Like it could have debuted in theaters and been successful. That's how good it was. Do you know
Sure.
what I'm saying?
Probably,
That's the
probably.
Yeah.
standard that they're
Still,
trying to hit.
still haven't seen it
But
yet,
that's
but
incredibly difficult for them because it's
watch
like they need to have the right formula. That was a perfect formula of like a balance of things, like actors, a nice script, like decently CGI'd,
I
well
mean,
done production, all that. Like so,
we're
it's
getting Extraction 2 and Old Guard 2. What more do you want? Come
I
on.
don't
Those
know.
are so mediocre, dude.
I know.
They're just so middle of the road.
It's
It's
sad
like,
because all of those movies
uh,
have an element that is excellent. There
sure.
is an element in each of those where you're like, "Ooh, that action was super
Mhm.
cool and super
Definitely.
great." I don't give a fuck about literally anything else in this 2-hour tragedy.
But that's Netflix movies for you, dude. They
Yeah.
are all so mediocre, middle of the road. You
I
just kind of
say
come out of it
I
going,
say
eh.
a good thing they can start doing is like poaching, because like you know like Lucifer is a good example of that. You know, like where a show that maybe has seen its like you know time end on a different network, but there's like a big enough following to like just
Hard.
pick it up and save it for like an extra season to let the people close it out. Like that's what they did for Lucifer. They gave it 2 more seasons, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
it's like
But like, do they have the money for that and to do all their stuff? Like,
good
it's
question.
people are like, they lost 2 million
I
subscribers
know it's the
in like a
biggest
quarter.
drop they've
It's like,
ever
ooh.
had.
I mean, gotta give shows a chance, man. Like, especially ones that
Give
like have
shows a
decent
chance.
viewership.
Smirch coming from
Yeah.
the guy who said he didn't have much to say about canceled shows.
Oh, well, that's true. I guess you're right. You're not wrong. But it was more about, I mean, all the shows they've canceled, I've been like, it's fine. Like, I'm not, I mean,
Invested.
they're besides obviously Firefly, which I wasn't really privy to when it was airing. there hasn't really been a show that I've been like really into that's been canceled, and I went,
Yeah.
like that hasn't really happened to me.
That's good
So
for you,
kinda what I was
actually.
saying.
That's lucky for
Maybe
you.
I
I would
guess.
say maybe Futurama for you. But I guess that
Yeah,
ended though. They ended it well.
but like
Well, on
there are
like the
multiple
third
shows that have
comeback.
ended and then come back or had something like Futurama's coming
Yeah.
back again for a fourth time, third time. I'm not really sure at this point. Fourth time. So you know, yeah, Futurama's probably the closest, but even then, I wasn't like. No, that's not true. That season 4 ending of the initial Futurama was a little sad to not see
That season
Brian
6
Lewis.
where it was the chopped up movies is bad.
The first one is good.
Yeah, it's
Bender's
all right.
Big Score is good.
Yeah,
That's a
but
good one.
but the
But yeah,
fact that like they
it gets
made it
rough.
into like a
Yeah, I don't know
season.
why they did that. But whatever.
Anyway,
So Stranger Things. You were calling me, and George touched on it, about, you know, where has Vecna been this whole time? Like, it's, you'll hear me gripe a lot about the show Lost style of writing. Like, man, we don't know what'll happen. We'll figure something out for next season. Do we have a full blown plan? Nah, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And I was concerned that that was what was happening here. And you could still argue that they didn't have this full plan initially because we haven't really gotten a hint of Vecna until this season. Nevertheless, they brought it home, and it was a very large setup of. I was like, "Who is this guy? Like, why do we care? Why does it always all of a sudden have to be like a human type dude? All of a sudden, like to give a shit?" And well, the reason is to give a villain a voice and for monologues because that's it's important. It's good to hear a drive
and we've
for a
had too
villain.
many giant CGI creatures, so
Right. And with no understanding or explanation as to how or why. And now we know all of that. And I said before, this was feeling a little like season 7 of Game of Thrones because I was just kind of like, it's good. I don't know what people are talking about saying this is the greatest season ever so far. Like, it just seems kind of like I just didn't feel as powerful and as impactful to me as previous seasons, but it was everything was riding on the part 2, and they delivered, and then some. Turns out it was more like a season 6 of Game of Thrones for me. They brought it home, and we got an explanation. Though I'm still a little misty, and Tim I think said to me, I'm not sure if he was the mind flayer or he was commanding the mind flayer.
yeah,
It's a little
I think that's
misty
gonna
there.
be. I think that'll be developed more in the next
Okay.
season. Is
I
my
think
guess, but
I think that whatever
looks like he
the mist
created it.
is alive. It's already like it's a creature of some sort, or it's already a living kind of being, or a collection of beings. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's like a hive.
Sure.
It's like ants or whatever. Think of it that way, like a hive kind of mentality, but also individuals. And I think that's how
Okay.
he's doing it. Like, because it seems like it might be kind of almost their version of insects, like on their planet,
see.
and like a swarm of them. And so he's like somehow took control of the swarm, and he uses that as like his ability of like the mind flare, and turns it into
Okay.
that spider that he's been drawing his whole life.
And even though they didn't directly address it, I do think that there was a reason, besides rescuing Hopper, for the whole Russia sequence and them cloning these beasts, because that could lead us to believe that there's cloning happening elsewhere. And I dare I say that we might see Vecna summoning a massive army to take on who knows what that in in the next season, unbeknownst to people cloning him, that they're actually making him more soldiers for his army. So that maybe that'll play out, maybe it won't, but that's a fascinating thing to think about.
May I read something
Sure.
on a Stranger Things wiki? Um, it is relevant. So it's a couple. Bear with me; it's not too long. It says the earliest form of the Mind Flayer was discovered by Vecna in 1979, following his banishment to the Upside Down. This version of the Mind Flayer was a storm-like mass of shadowy particles, or mist. It is not known if the mist possessed its own independent will or consciousness. Henry Vecna used his powers to reconstitute the mist into a form that satisfied him, a giant spider-like entity with a flame-shaped head, not unlike a similar creature he had fantasized about as a child. Vecna,
Ooh.
Vecna first actively attempted to take over the world in 1984 acting through the Mind Flayer, he possessed Will Byers and an army of adolescent demigorgons or demi-dogs. So
Got it.
it's kind of both. It's like it was there and it was an entity, but he kind of gave it shape, literally and figuratively, where he purposed it as opposed to it just sort of existing. So
Okay, that's good enough
that's
for
what we
me.
have there, and
And that's
I
great because that also leaves it open to, some sort of change if they decide to
yeah,
go with it in the next season. I think honestly something that's been I can't stop thinking about, and I don't know if the answer is simple or not. I can't I can't help but feel like or maybe this is obvious and I don't know. Did 11 inadvertently create the upside down when she sent Henry to this dimension?
so
Did this thing exist before she did that?
I was
I'm
looking at that.
Yeah.
This didn't come from a wiki, but it was an article where it is, at least in this opinion or whatever it was, it existed, and she simply,
Pushed him there.
yeah, pushed him into it. I think
Okay.
the theory kind of is that these people, and again, this is just a wild internet theory, are getting their power through the upside down. Like it is what's in allowing them to have these powers. I don't know. That was again a wild internet theory.
It could
It
kind of make
seems to make
sense.
sense that the Mind Flayer or the upside down has amplified Vecna
How about
in a
Stallion?
sense.
Hey,
So, we'll
Buttstein has some
see.
great input. Do not feel like she created it, but she sent him there and he is forming it. Duffer said they'd delve into it more in season 5. I think,
I hope
yeah,
so.
that makes sense to me. Like it was like kind of this barely a something, and with Vecna in it now, it is much more of what we
Yeah.
know it to be
Yeah.
today. And that's fascinating to me. Um, it's like why it's stuck in 1984. Oh, even more fascinating still. I hope they delve into that more, like why it's like a few years behind the current day. And anyway, that's the whole. There's still a lot of mystery to be uncovered here, and I'm really glad there's a whole nother season. And based on how they've brought it home in arguably one of the most emotional series finales that I can think of recently, I have no reason to believe that they won't deliver again next season. It's good. The 5 seasons is good. They've been churning out basically miniature movies per episode, which I'm very grateful for. Uh, Especially since I feel like I've been swimming through just show after show where nothing feels like it's been given enough time. Everything feels rushed or forced or fast forwarded. And I didn't feel like that once. Again, I never really felt like that in Stranger Things, to be fair. And I'm so grateful for it. What a powerful season finale to have. I almost me being me, the introduction to Eddie Munson, I was just kind of like, who the fuck is this
Yeah.
dude? This dude's a metal dude, but he's also very like he's a D&D dude. Like, did this kind of person even exist? Like,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, of course it did. But I just was sort of like, who is this dynamo? Like, fucking like stealing the show. And he was a great character, and gave an amazing performance, and he was scared and vulnerable when he needed to be, and he was brave, though maybe a little unnecessarily at the end, just because we all wanted to see him. We wanted to see more of Eddie Munson. We all grew to love him in a short amount of time, and that's a big testament to not just the writers but the performer as well. And I was very, very sad. There were a lot of tears shed for Eddie Munson. I'm getting a little choked up. Yeah,
But
seriously.
Stallion's feeling it.
Yeah, man, I'm choking up just talking about it. And I mean, but what a way to go. As long as he was there for a purpose, and he had an epic ending, that's I suppose reticently good enough for me. Man, the decision to have it not too long after the almost supposed death of Max was like I was like, no, fuck you, no. Like I wasn't accepting it because, and in a way, I kind of like spoiled it for myself. Like, oh, they would they dare? I mean, maybe they weren't aware of how well liked Eddie Munson would be, but I'm like, they wouldn't give us like a major character death right after a very beloved one, almost as much as Bob from season 2. And so that kind of made me go, okay, she's not really dead.
Samwise.
What's going?
Okay.
Samwise, sorry. And so I maybe was taken out a little bit of the moment, but it is still super heavy. So many tears shed, and I am intrigued to see what happens with Max moving forward.
Yeah.
They talked about. Somebody said that when Vecna kills you, he doesn't just kill you, he absorbs you.
Mm-hmm.
Can't help but think, was he
Uh,
halfway through his process
Oh
of
yeah.
killing Max, and maybe she is still alive, but her
There's that
consciousness,
scene.
her soul is still trapped with Vecna, and that's why when 11 goes into Max's mind is like, Max, like, so maybe season 5 along with the whatever is
Doesn't she
really going to
scream?
happen.
Doesn't 11 scream while she's in her head like she sees something and it terrifies her? Or is that, am I
I
remembering a
don't
different
know.
scene?
No, there's nothing. There's
Mm,
literally nothing.
mm.
And that leads me to believe that along with what I'm assuming will be a grand battle of sorts in the next season will be the
And
rescue of Max's consciousness from
do you think
Vecna
they'll have to
somehow.
fight a negative version of Max, like a Vecna version of Max? Like the thing that he took is in some other body?
I hope not.
That'd be funny.
But
That would be
I hope
that's an
not.
emotional
But
beat for a battle. Like
true, but it would have to be in Vecna's mind only, so it would only be 11 versus her. Uh, so I don't know about that.
I mean that'll definitely come up then now that you say it.
Sure. Ooh, God forbid he puts her consciousness into one of his beasts, into the
That's
mind
what I
flayer.
said.
Oh, I didn't know what you meant. I
That's
thought you
what I
meant
meant.
like Max, like a negative. I thought you meant. I pictured like Nega Scott
No,
from
the
from
yeah,
Scott Pilgrim.
that's
I
well,
pictured
that's
Nega
that's
Scott
what
Max.
Pilgrim.
that's what
He
I
turns
meant,
out to
but
be
it's
a
like
cool
it's
guy. Actually, they
in
had a lot in common.
no,
Hey, he's all right
he's
guy. He's all right. Maybe we can hang
the
out
closest
sometime.
thing I could do would be like is there's a Doctor Who reference, but
So,
yeah,
anyway, very, very happy they brought it
yeah,
home. I was a little concerned initially, but damn, season finale like that makes you love television.
yeah. My only final thought on it for me was the only other negative I can come up with was it the end felt like it was given what I call the Return of the King treatment, where it had like four endings, and it
I
it
love
it
Return of the King. I love multiple endings.
I hate the end of that movie, like, passionately. It's dumb.
No.
No, it's dumb.
Well, all right.
You have this goodbye, and then you have another goodbye, and then
We need it,
here's the
man.
goodbye, but it's like the same fucking characters every time. Anyway,
Yeah, but it's so emotional.
with this, it was like, you know, uh, Max's death, and then, oh, she does her thing, and then, 2 days later, wait, what happened in those 2 days? Why is everyone so fucking calm and just hanging out and doing
Yeah.
like here's a shelter and here's helping people? Like these kids would be arrested. They would not have rights anymore. Like they were
Hmm, not during a
associates
natural.
of someone that that they have now the national news has said Hellfire Club and Eddie Munson and like it felt like the
That was
last
fine.
ending. It was, where was it? They were at in the cabin. They all had the reunion, and they're all like, oh yeah, it's happy. Hopper's back, and that's great. And then it was like another ending where it was somewhere else, and it just kept ending. Only problem with it, and it's not even that huge of one because I still, when they revealed like the giant storm and that it looks like they're coming to Hawkins, I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, like fuck yes, this is gonna be amazing. Like finally, everyone's gonna realize that it wasn't. Well, maybe they'll find a reason to blame Eddie Munson again because religious zealots. I'm not gonna get into it, but um, yeah, I'm still excited. So that was my one biggest downside to anything that happened in the season, and it's like it's not gonna make me go, I'm never watching this shit again because
Yeah.
I am.
Mhm.
Any final thoughts, George? Or are we moving on?
We
'Cause
got to
it's
move on.
all right. So
We've gone
let's
way
dive.
longer than we should
We
have.
talked for this about 40 minutes.
For
It's
Stranger
fine.
Things.
Let's dive straight into. We'll leave Thor for last, and
All
we'll
right.
dive into Miss Marvel season finale. If you haven't heard us talk about the rest of the season, go back, listen to some of the earlier episodes. We've dove into most of them, if not like two at a time or one at a time. We all love this show and have highs and lows. Some love it more than others, but nobody here hates it, so that's a good thing. This is rare for us to all actually. I feel like with Stranger Things, we all loved it too, so good.
Well, I was ragging on it for the first part.
Sure, which is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But yeah. George, you're probably gonna have a little bit more to say. So I want to hear what you have to say and see if I have any
too.
points to jump off of you.
Okay. I think like this show is like, in many ways it's I understand its like attempt is that it wants to like open it wide to like a larger audience of, you know, not just inclusion but also like a younger audience, and that's what the show is for. And notably, well, I'll talk about it more with Thor, but I think in general we notice that there is a younger generation of Marvel superheroes that are coming in, whether they're teens, younger kids in general. So it's not out of the realm possibility we're going to see something similar to like a Young Avengers or a new cast of Avengers soon, led by probably someone like Spider-Man, or, you know, like someone who comes from the previous generation but is younger, you know, as well. So that's in the cards. And I think you see that especially with like Miss Marvel, is that she's going to be somebody who they're going to lean heavily on, I think, just because of her connection to the larger franchises, and also like it's their first tiptoe, and she's like the first step that they have on Disney Plus. That's like, this is for that new generation of people, or younger generation of people that Marvel's trying to appeal to. And they did a really, really good job. And what's funny is that it's not just so good in the sense that it's good to appeal to that younger generation, because I think they did a good job in that, but there's enough like things that they put in the show that appeal to actually like us too, that like we call back. And one of the like finer pieces, and this is so random, but I think one of the finer points of that is like there's a scene at the very end of the episode in the last finale where they have Cameron's car, and Nakia goes, "Get in, losers, we're getting shawarma." And if you don't like, there's a lot of kids who they were trying to target that show to would not know what that reference is. That reference is two references in one. Shawarma, which is like one of the oldest Avengers references, and how they would know about shawarma is, I think maybe there's stories, you know, about it later on, but I don't know if they even know, you know, themselves, the characters know about the shawarma joke. But the funny thing is that's like a line out of Mean Girls. She literally is paraphrasing Mean Girls, but like maybe the younger generation hasn't really seen that or would have picked that up, but like someone our generation, and you know, would definitely pick that up. Like, so it's just like there's a lot of little things that are like I say, for like the adults that are watching the show as well, and it's enough that it doesn't detract from the general theme of the show and the direction of the show, which is fine. Like, they knew they had a goal that they were shooting for, and they I think they knocked it out of the ballpark. All the things that Disney wanted them to do with that show, I think they did. They pleased their Disney overlords. Do you know what I'm saying? But they still managed to do a really great show in the process. And that fine balance is so incredibly difficult, especially with the 6 episodes you're given, with the amount of pressure that you get from Disney and all that to put on Disney Plus. It's just for having to handle that amount of expectation and still doing this good of a job, I think is commendable. And you know, like, I don't. Like, it's not even so much about the finer details, because I know it's the little details that make up the larger show, but like in general, you could look at the show in general and could be like, this is like maybe the best show they put out in a really, really long time, like compared to some of the stuff that they've come out. The one that I think like I enjoyed, and I know it's getting there's a lot of flack, as there always is for the show too, and like a lot of behind the scenes stuff, which I think like it's just undue criticism. Like, a lot of it, I think, is just like, it's just hate. It's just hate, honestly. Yeah, it's just racist hate. Sexism. Which is something I'm sad to say, you know, we're faced with in entertainment these days, is just like pure racism and hate because they don't like seeing like a brown girl be a superhero. And that's really what it comes down to. Whatever like pretense that they have and other like criticism they have about the show is undue, and it's always unscaled, because they're putting her at a different, it's the same thing that happened with Star Wars and Obi-Wan. They're putting her at a different like standard than a regular quote unquote like white superhero that they are so incredibly used to seeing. So she already is like become a big part of like the Marvel franchise as well, because if you didn't know, a lot of the new rides that they have already incorporated her character, like on the Disney
Yep.
cruise, the Disney Wish, which just launched this like 2 weeks ago for its first voyage. There's a section of it where it's like Miss Marvel shows up on like the deck, and like she's part of the rides already, so she's here to stay, and like that's just, it means so much. And I think it this is just, yeah, the show's a great introduction in that. I don't know what else more to say.
It's interesting to that point because Miss Marvel has done well in the comics. Her
Right.
comic has sold very well, and it shows two things here: that comic audiences and TV audiences are very different people
Mm-hmm.
and very different groups of people. And I think obviously Disney is trying to grab that comic book audience and put them in the TV show, and I commend them for that. I think that would be great, and those are probably the most positive reviews are coming from that people. But as far as the show goes, when you look at just like the audience, it's not as big as it's the lowest watched show that they have for Marvel, which is disappointing. It really
Mm-hmm.
is, because as you were saying, it is the lowest watched one, not because it's a bad show, because people are insecure with their own everything. They're racist. They don't want to see a woman superhero. They want to see a teenage superhero. They want, like, it's just they
They
expect
go into it
to
with a lot
see.
of
Yeah,
preconceived notions of what a show
exactly.
and what they
It's got
think a
nothing to do with a
superhero should
teenage
be.
Yeah,
superhero.
it's why before, say what you will about the 2016 Ghostbusters movie, it's why it was doomed before it went in, is because people had a preconceived notion of what the
Mhm.
Ghostbusters were. So it received hate just because of the women. And once the movie came out, I like it, but whatever. We're not getting into that. It's disappointing from so many people in that call themselves Marvel fans, that call themselves comic book fans, that call themselves movie fans or anything, because they're not. They're fans of seeing themselves represented on TV. It's old white men of all ages are all they want is their own representation, and it's sad and depressing because people like I think Imran Vellani, is that how you say her
Mhm.
last name?
I
She
don't
was
know.
excellent.
She did great.
Um, as this like a very awkward teenager who I think everybody can relate to. Everyone goes through an awkward phase as a teenager, kind of getting something special, learning about her history, learning about her family, learning about her culture, and then learning about having superpowers on top of that, and then tackling school, tackling racial identity and everything within a larger idea. Like it I don't see how this couldn't have been more perfectly written. Like, she did great
She did great.
bringing all those emotions. She had these moments where she just really, you, as like a comic book person and as wanting Marvel, I'm like, oh, I want to see the action and the fight, but I'm like, but it changes, it turns into her kind of questioning things and her kind of using something other than just brute force to kind of go at the situation, which you don't see outside that much anymore. And it's good, it's smart, it's well written. um so I was very happy to see them. All the surrounding cast was great except for weirdly, except for the older white people in the show were fucking terrible. The agents,
They
the
were very over the
Oh,
DODC,
top. They're so
they
over
were
the
what the hell
top.
was
horrible.
that?
They made no
What was that
sense. It
haircut?
They're
it
just
just
really
shouldn't.
bad
It
villains.
honestly, like, it. The old adage is the hero or the movie, the show is only as good as its villain, and they had a horrible final villain in the DODC. They just were bad. Bad act, over the top acting, bad
Yeah, it
writing.
was
I don't
weird. I don't.
understand it.
Yeah, whatever.
They
Is that a
did
bazooka?
right. Like, what they did though with it was made it not about them, which I liked. They made it more about her and Kamran and
Yeah.
Bruno and
Yeah, sure.
Nakia and everyone kind of, that was the real struggle. And the other one was she was going up against incompetence, and it kind of was written to that she
Home
couldn't
Alone
fail.
style.
Yeah, she couldn't fail, right? In the sense that, like, all she had to do was just go against whatever the DODC was doing, because they were so bad that
Yeah.
anyone going against them would seem like the hero, which was a nice way to give her the support of the people, but she already had the support of the people because they're literally her people. Um, so other than that, I really did enjoy the show. This finale, I was really curious going into it because they had a pretty, in my opinion, episode 5 had a pretty good ending. Like with her going and just defeating the, what was her name? I can't remember her name. But the Celestines, the Jinn. We'll go with
The
that.
Celestials or no? The
Clandestines.
No,
Celestials.
The
no.
Clandestines.
clandestines.
Clandestines, thank you. But you have that ending, and I was like, oh, I'm like, they're the real villains here. Like they're the true threat to this situation, and they just defeated them in episode 5. What the hell are you gonna do in
Defeated.
episode 6?
Yeah.
And so, but they did good because it was
Yeah.
more about, again, setting up the next generation, Kamran, and
Yeah.
helping him, and like the fact that she didn't just give up on him really was what makes a good core of a hero. There's so many
Indeed.
others that probably would have written him off, helped the DODC capture him and sent him away, but I saved the day, everybody's safe. I'm like, it's not about safety, it's about helping, and you can't help somebody by throwing him into the system because that doesn't help shit. So they did a great job with that. I thought it was very good. The only other sour note I have is the tonal shift from 1, 2, and a little bit of 3 to 4, 5, and 6. I think they could have done all of this and kept that tone of the first couple of episodes where you have all this elaborate writing on the walls and fun
Non-existent.
kind of features, and like they had it in every episode, but it was like just this little bit. The only part they had in this one was the sketches for the plan of how they're gonna go.
We don't got
wasn't
time
even
for you
that
to
much.
write shit down on a chalkboard. Like,
Yeah,
come on.
and
Like,
so it was. Also, did anyone was anyone like, Zoe? What the hell is she doing here? All
Yeah,
of a
there's
sudden
a lot
out
of
of
convenient
nowhere.
little things,
Yeah.
but I mean, I
there's
understand.
a
It was
lot
like
of
the
that,
court.
actually.
But like, and then like our brother
it was a
shows
Home
up,
Alone
and we're like,
moment. I
okay,
get it.
like I
Total
don't
Home Alone.
care.
And
Oh,
then
yeah,
it
these
had
guys
the
were-
Spider-Man feel to it too, where the science nerds or whatever got together and like
Yeah, but
saved the day.
it hit the
throw
beats.
baseballs at them. It'll
Yeah.
definitely fend off these dudes with super futuristic gun.
Yeah,
It's like, all right,
they hit the beats. If you
Fine.
ignore some of the finer details and moments, everything was great. And
I mean,
I will rewatch this again. I've only rewatched one of the shows, and that's WandaVision. I'll
Mhm.
probably give Loki another watch. I'll give this another watch. I might give Moon Knight another watch because I want to see if I can put other pieces together. But I mean,
we're going to talk about some of the endings though, right? Of the show.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so all right.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, they definitely played some X-Men in there, which was
That
like,
means she's like, your
Oh,
anatomy
okay.
was mutated.
yeah, they literally played
Yeah.
X-Men.
which I got I got it again. I got goosebumps
I was like,
because they said the
fucking God,
word
they said it.
mutation,
Bruno,
which has
who would
been
have
a
thought Bruno
big
is the
no-no.
character? The first
Yeah.
person to utter mutation in the whole entire MCU is
It's
Bruno.
not mutant. It's mutation.
Yeah,
I'll take
but still,
Mutation.
but
Yeah.
still, like I was like, this is it's so small and it's such a minute moment, but it has
Big
massive
meanings.
implications.
And the fact is
finer
we see
nerds.
Charles, and they don't say Charles is a mutant. We just say our leader of they just say he's the leader of the X-Men or whatever.
I don't even
Professor
think they
Xavier.
say that.
Yeah, they just say Professor Xavier. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you should know who Charles Xavier is, no matter which
Yeah.
universe you're in.
Disney
But-
really getting their money's worth out of that
didn't
little
say anything
soundbite.
about mutants or anything.
Well, they're
and so-
dropping X-Men 97 next year.
Yeah,
So.
right. So they don't even say anything except for play that, and then also, of course, we all talked about who we thought would make the cameo. I kind of said it could be Ant-Man because I was like, I think Ant-Man, if it's not the obvious, then Ant-Man
think
because he
anyone was
was
going
mentioned
to.
a shit ton for some weird reason, and he has a podcast, so it'd be funny if she like did a podcast with him at the end or something,
Yeah.
But either way,
I didn't think there were going to be any cameos.
you didn't think there would be any cameos?
They had
haven't
to
been
have
any.
a Miss Marvel
Any cameo. I thought
Because she's
Monica
in the
Monica
movie.
Rambeau might
They're
have
setting
showed
up,
up.
whatever happens in the movie. So
Yeah, in
that's
the
fine.
Marvels,
That's
which is
cool.
really cool, I think. But
Yeah.
it's another thing to let us know that she's solidly entrenched in the MCU fabric. Aside from all the stuff
Yeah.
that they've done, like I said,
Sure.
adding to the ship ride and Disney properties. Now she's like, this kicks her off because she literally is just taking places with Captain Marvel. Like they've just swapped places from the looks of it.
That'll be interesting. It'll
So
be
wherever
interesting to
Captain
see
Marvel
where
was, that's where
Captain
she
Marvel
is.
was.
Yeah,
I
so
hope that's where it
gonna be-
opens up, is her.
Yeah,
in...
that would be amazing if that's how the show, the movie opens up, is because when Captain Marvel or the Marvels comes out, like anyone who hasn't seen Miss Marvel will probably go back to watch it and find out like before the movie airs. So
Something.
Hopefully,
I'm excited. I don't know.
It-
I think
it-
I think this is, it's sad, like Tim said, that it didn't get the views, but
That is sad, and
It's
I
very
don't
sad.
know why that is. I
don't
hope
know
that
why
changes
that is.
moving forward. But I definitely found myself cutting this show more slack than I normally would.
Of course.
And that's because I'm rooting for her. Like, and not just the character, but for the actor and for like shows like this in general. And
it's
I've
charming
been-
in its own way.
It is charming, and I mean, there were definitely another prime example of a show that needed more time for things to happen. I mean, things just kind of kept happening. You're just like, okay, this is happening now, and there's a lot of that. But ultimately, it didn't matter to me. I still enjoyed the ride. I think it was fun, and I'm rooting for Kamala Khan moving forward.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting point. If I may transition, do you have more, or can I transition?
move on.
Nah, it's
here?
fine.
We gotta move
So
on.
to Dan's point, in that I'm setting you up here, guy. Dan's rooting for Kamala and going into it with that, let's call it suspension of disbelief, and allowing himself to just be like, you know what, that's fine. I'll let that go and I'll enjoy the show. I want to know if you can put that lens on now and tell me about Thor: Love and Thunder, and see if you can look at everything else through those same lenses, because historically Dan has disliked other things, not liked as much. Let's go with not liked as much, because I don't want to say you hate things, because that's a gross understatement,
And hate
or
Thor.
overstatement. He's not liked it as much as, say, me, who, let's be honest, I love everything. I just want to know, give me rose-colored lenses and see what we can do. It's it's a science experiment with smirch, ladies and gentlemen.
It's
Say
challenging,
something
man.
good about it. Is what he's asking you.
I said it before, I'll say it again. The bar has been raised, and the bar has been set for some time now. I want to be clear about that. Like, we had Iron Man and Thor and Captain America, and I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. I'll take what I can get. We're getting superheroes on screen. We're going to get the Avengers assembling someday. That's exciting. And then the Avengers. Captain America, Winter Soldier. And then all of a sudden, like, oh my God, like, these are really good. And not just
Doctor
like
Strange
good
coming
in the
out.
moment. Doctor Strange, so many good. Even Avengers: Age of Ultron, not the greatest, still really good. Like, only not that great because of everything that was surrounding it. And you could say I could apply that to Thor, but like, you think about Thor 3. Thor 3, in my opinion, I don't know, top 5 maybe Marvel movies. That was amazing. And you're like, okay, we got the same director. We got like everyone returning. We got Natalie Portman coming back to do something awesome. Why wasn't this working?
Keep it going.
Why wasn't this working?
Why did it work? What worked? What worked?
What worked? Okay. The goats.
The goats.
The goats.
Yes,
The goats worked. The goats were effective in their comedy. The comedy worked. The comedic moments worked in this movie. Russell Crowe worked.
I
I
enjoyed that.
think. Did he? Yeah. Okay. I guess. Yeah. Sort. What? What was that? What? Okay. Sure. Yeah. That's fun. I was entertained. I was confusedly entertained.
Are you
but I
not
was
entertained?
I was I was indeed entertained by this Greek version of Zeus. This sort of weirdly, but
that's what he would sound like. Well, maybe not exactly.
Maybe, who
But
knows?
he wouldn't have.
Whatever.
He wouldn't sound American.
That is indeed true. But then you got to start saying, why does Thor sound fucking Australian or not American, whatever.
because you can't do
It's
accents.
opening doors. You kind of like you had to leave
Yeah,
closed. Now you're kind of like, why do we gotta acknowledge this? Whatever. It was
we've
fine.
creeped into it. We're in the room.
I was entertained by that scene and the uh
Action
the
CGI.
action was good. I liked the whole her splitting up Mjolnir into little
Oh,
bits and
that was
coming back.
cool.
Got goosebumps when she first brought them all back together. That was cool. Um, um, uh, the literal actual ending of the story, with him and his now adopted daughter, is heartwarming, and I love it. I really like a non comic book character, now really part of the MCU with Thor moving forward. That's exciting to me. They can do what they want with her, and there's less pressure, and I think that's great. I will
Young
say,
Avenger.
Right,
sure.
just chuck her in there.
Moving forward, in actual, like, in all seriousness, I did like the story. This story overall, from an over glancing perspective, was good. Um, yeah.
Okay, so let me build on that real quick here. So, um,
Fuck, that's hard.
I may not be the best person to follow this up, but um, because I feel like what you liked, I liked. Okay, Thor: Love and Thunder to me felt like two movies because it was light, stupid Thor, dumb guy, big muscles, doing shit, lost in his ways, trying to figure shit out, comedy, Korg, goats. Enter Natalie Portman, and the whole tone of him shifts. He's no longer that lighthearted, doing whatever the hell he wants. He is faced with his choices that have he's faced with his past. And it wasn't the most pleasant of moments in his past where he has to he's rekindling with Natalie in what was, as you can see in their montage history, like yeah, that makes sense that that's how that would go, like they both dove into their work and nobody saw each other and then everybody left.
Done. They're kind of like
you know
recap of what we didn't see. I liked that.
yeah,
That was
that was
good.
good.
Yeah,
and
actually, a
and then
lot of people, Korg gets a lot of like flack, and I understand it's like it's a director putting himself into the movie, but
Sure, it's Taika being
reasonably so.
Taika.
But he's gotten a lot of flack, since like he showed up as a character, and like
Mhm.
people say a lot. But the thing is actually like they used him really well in this like
Yeah,
movie. He was like
they
the narrator.
they used
He
this version of Korg
Yeah, they
very
used him
well.
really well in this version because like he fills in a lot of like the gap that you need. He's a really good, like, because of that narration that he provided. It was a very good
It reminds
like-
me of the scene in Frozen 2 with Olaf, where
yeah,
he
it's a
recaps
good
the first
tool.
movie.
It's a very good tool that they have in the film to like move the story
Yeah.
progress and fill in the gaps that you needed. So I can
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that he's not just a character to have a character, that they like had a reason, and he was done well in that
Yeah.
sense, I think. I
He
just wanted to
was.
say
He
that.
was. As far as this version of that character goes, yes, I love having him on screen. I love Taika Waititi, so I'll enjoy it. Um, I liked the comedy. I was laughing. I felt it was too much comedy for me in the beginning. Like it just was like I'm like you need a balance, and I'll get into this in my next comment. But like as the movie as a whole, it had two different feelings to it. I loved both parts of the feelings. You know what I mean? Like I liked them both. I feel like it was loosely stitched together in the center, but it worked. And I had a good time. The second half was this emotional ride for me, with him with his ups and downs in the relationship with Natalie Portman, the mighty Thor. I thought she was I loved her in this, in like figuring out like her catchphrases. I thought that was entertaining. Um she looked the part. She looked fantastic as the mighty Thor. And her fight scenes, again, like you were saying, to reiterate, were pretty cool. I thought the whole relationship between Thor and Mjolnir and the axe, that was a little weird,
It's
but
funny,
I get it.
I
It's
guess.
fine. Like these things, these are more than just a tool, and they always kind of were. And that I kind of I can appreciate that. It was done a little strangely.
Never
But
like this. I mean, where did that
yeah,
come from? They experience jealousy now, apparently. Come on, man. I don't know.
it was a little much, but I still think
For the sake of
again,
comedy, I guess.
I'm able to just be like, keep going. What do you got for me next? And then it just was more stuff. I was a little disappointed. I wanted more out of Gore. I thought Christian Bale,
Yeah, dude.
and he did well. There's
When
nothing,
he
but
when
it
he was
just
on screen for a
yeah,
total of
just
10, 15 minutes
there was
screen
no
time.
God Butcher in this movie.
Yeah.
But you know, and it again, you know, the movie brings up a gigantic plot holes for like 7 other movies, but that's neither here nor there, and I can let that go. It's like when Cap goes back into time and all the plot holes that creates, and I'm just like, I don't care. That was an amazing, beautiful ending. Don't ruin it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but like, you know,
That
with
is
like the
for
whole
sure.
eternity thing, it's like, why wouldn't they just do that instead of the Infinity Stones? Why wouldn't Thanos go find them and do the Infinity Stones? And so whatever, I don't care. Because it's too powerful of a thing, so I'm not gonna bother with it. But ultimately, like I really did, I enjoyed the movie. I had fun. That's all I want to do when I go into these movies, is just turn off my brain, go watch a giant Norse god get his entirety of his shirts flicked off and stand there naked for a while. Like it was weird, but like
Contractual obligation at this point.
yeah, I mean, dude was he
Uh,
said
More
the
built than
biggest
he's
he's
ever been.
ever been
Yeah.
for anything, and I'm like, yeah, show it off, man. Like if that was me, I wouldn't wear anything ever. Why not? Um,
Gotta say, dude.
but it was cool. If we look at, I'm gonna do this real quick. I know it's too late. Thor as a whole suffers from the Star Wars effect. Um, if you look at 1 and 2, they hold the same tone. And you look at 3 and 4, they almost hold the same tone, but the tone has changed between 3 and 4. It's like gotten goofier and he's gotten stupider, and it's weird. So you look at like they're all 4 movies, if you look at them as just 4 movies, they're all very disjointed movies. They don't tell, I know that there's other things that happen in between all of these, but like the tone doesn't tell a story. The tone of Iron Man 1, 2, and 3 tell a very coherent story, love it or hate it. It's a very coherent story. The tone of all the Spider-Man movies tell a coherent story. They feel like the same character every time you watch it. If you go back and watch Thor 1 and then you go back and watch this, you're like, I don't, who was that in 1 and who is
Right.
this in
Right.
4? They're not the same
No.
person.
I
Character
mean,
progression.
Taika
It just
Waititi. That's
exactly
really it.
like it's fine. I'm all for it, but it's just it kind of it's disjointed. He's the first one to get 4 movies standalone,
Mhm.
which I'm like, that's awesome. Um that someone got it. Chris Hemsworth, I love him as this character, and I feel like the second half of this movie is more of the Thor that I want than the first half of this movie, because the first half he's just aloof, half drunk, blowing up temples with the Guardians and being weird the whole time. I'm like, it just was a little too much for me. Like if you just dial it back, you're at a 10. I need you at like a 7, and I'd be a
Still
lot
didn't
happier.
change that much second half. He was still kind of like, yeah, we're totally gonna come and save you guys. Like it'll be great. It'll be great. It'll be great. And you're like, what are you?
It was a little
It was
toned
like
down.
when the
That
comedy
fight scene,
worked, it worked. When it didn't work, it fucking stung. Like I was
yeah.
like cringing. Like it felt like I hate to say it, it really felt like to me that Taika Waititi was not the director for this movie. I think he did a great job with Thor 3, and I don't know if Kevin Feige is taking some much deserved time off and not being as heavy-handed in these movies in this first kind of rollout, but the comedy worked, but everything else felt very disjointed and pulled away from a lot of things, and I don't know. I don't think he was the right call for this only because of the success of Thor 3, which again, great. We have no reason to believe he couldn't do something at least close to it. I was pulled away most of this movie. The very beginning, I thought I was entertained. In the middle, I was wondering what are you guys doing? And luckily, again, ending brought it home for the most part. So left the theater feeling pretty good.
George has yet to chime in. What do you got for us? You watched this yesterday, and
I watched it last
I watched
night,
it a
so
few
it's
days
still
ago.
really fresh in my mind.
Yeah, what do you got?
I would say, I mean,
us,
I understand some of the parts that really pulled me out, and I understand why they did it because it looked cool. But is like Thor giving like his power to all the kids, and then them having it temporarily. That the movie pulled me out. I was like, what is that? Huh? I didn't know that's.
You can just do that.
You now can do that with with Yomir, like
a weapon he's never used before.
Yeah,
like
with just random. I don't.
Very, very stupid.
Very weird. But that was weird. That definitely pulled me out. But I actually, I enjoyed it for what it was. I wasn't like once again in the middle of Dan and Slice here. It was fine for what it is. I didn't go into it with very high expectations.
Like we're on the same page right now, you and me, for first time in a while.
I didn't go into it with very high expectations, but I would say I enjoyed it for what it was. I think definitely Dan has points that there were a lot of parts that kind of like just pulled me out. I understand why they created a new character too. I kind of like how the story ended because it did come home really nicely, and that's why they're just known as Love and Thunder, which is like, they said the name of the title of the thingy, they did it, which is great. But I like how it came together like that. That was actually kind of cool.
That character's
I
name
love
is
like
Love.
the tone in many ways because once again it's like a very 80s tone, and the 80s music was like it was a really pretty pretty amazing music soundtrack, and like I enjoyed the music of it. Let's see.
I will say I haven't enjoyed Guns N' Roses this much in a while.
Yeah,
because they're like the single most overplayed anything ever. But then I was like, no, that was pretty epic though.
And then, I enjoyed the soundtrack. And then, you can shout out to the Guardians, showing up for like a few minutes in the beginning, whatever. It's nice just to catch up with them.
What was the point?
I know, but it's because we last saw him with them, so it was like we have to know what happened.
It was because James Gunn was fired, and that movie was supposed to come out before Thor, so that's really why.
That's that. But they're there, so whatever. They get their few minutes, and that's fine. It is funny. It is just nice to see the Guardians occasionally and see what's up with them just to catch up. So I enjoyed that.
Groot's still a teenager though? What the hell? Come on, man. You're supposed to grow every couple come on.
I'm more interested in like the little things that like this movie kind of pointed out to the larger, I guess, pantheon and like hierarchy of like the cosmic MCU, right? This concept of like something like eternity, which is like used a little bit differently in this movie than it is in the comics. I think eternity in the comics is actually like a being that's seen communal. This didn't seem like it was a being per se, but it was hard to say. I don't know. Sort of. I don't know. Whatever.
Being became
I'm fine to move on with that. But I love the part where they actually, before they get to the gate and go into it, there's that temple and you see all these things. Like we saw celestials at like the city of the gods. Actually, we saw two of them there. They're not the two main ones, but we did see.
I thought we saw the red one with like the 6 eyes.
I don't think Arishem was there. I think it was
we had the statue. The statue was
the statue was Arishem in the hall. That was definitely Arishem, who's like the leader of the Celestial. So it's interesting to see that they still want to put at least bring that part of the Eternals in. But I don't know if they'll ever use Eternals again.
They will. I mean, they're going to.
Never for their own movie. Appearances and other movies.
I hope not.
It's too many people. So it's just going to be one or two characters from Eternals.
Yeah, I hope not.
Which is fine. Just give us appearances. They'll probably do fine like that.
I'm fine with whatever. Honestly, but it's nice to see like the larger pantheon. It's cool to see like there's so many different other gods of different like, just like backgrounds and religions. And even Korg's like, hey, there's the god of my people. Like, and then the guy's like, yay, like shout out. Like it's funny that they have like different. Everybody has their own god, and they have this like place that they all hang out. And
I think it was a real missed opportunity for a real missed opportunity for a lot of other gods we could have seen. Instead,
We
we got
did
like
see a
random
lot. We
made up
just didn't
gods.
know. We didn't see a lot. We didn't know. We saw Bast, which is the Black Panther god. She was actually sitting really, really
Okay.
close to them.
You can probably
about, like-
see them in the background.
I mean, what
Right,
about
there's a
like
lot more
Egyptian
little Easter
gods,
eggs.
Norse
We did see
gods?
some.
you
It's just
know,
very, very
other-
hard to see.
so many Greek and Roman gods that we
Yeah.
could have nothing until.
I
after
love that they
credits.
did drop in Hercules before we even saw him. They said Hercules, and then
They did say it in the movie.
Yeah, they said
Mhm.
Hercules before that, and then
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
Also,
he's never my favorite
Not,
Marvel character.
not a lot of pressure.
yeah, not a
there,
lot of
so, you
pressure.
know.
He could be his own thing, really, honestly.
At least,
Yeah.
at least it's not going to be The Rock.
That's funny. And then they can always recast him. They've done it before.
God.
And then, yeah, just like the larger pantheon of gods and like the larger what it means. Oh, also in the hall, we saw a statue of a Watcher as well. If I don't know if you caught that in the hallway, there's definitely a Watcher there. So
Didn't
that's
put it
just
right
nice
over there.
little Easter eggs in there of like people who are higher, maybe not full on, eternity level, but what's below the eternity level gods, which is like you see celestials are there on par with like the Watcher and all these other like almost cosmic gigantic beings. So it's like
When
it's
is
funny to
someone-
see there's different levels of godhood almost.
I want to know when a movie is going to acknowledge that there's a fucking giant celestial sticking out of one of the poles.
It's gonna be a good question.
It's they dug themselves into a hole because maybe they want to wipe the history of what happened in Eternals from the map because of how poorly it received. So who knows?
I missed the Eternals podcast, and I
It
wanna
all
say
happened
I
in
was
a different
right.
universe. It didn't happen in ours. We're just gonna pretend that happened and move.
I want to say
forward.
I was right because when Eternals came, all this hype leading up to Eternals, I was like, this movie, I'm going to say it, it's the movie that's going to bomb for
You
MCU.
did.
I did say
You
it.
did
I said
say
this
that.
movie is going to bomb. I said it's not just going to do bad. I said it was going to bomb, and I was right.
He was.
I mean, all right, George. You said your catchphrase.
Rogue One.
We all felt that way about Guardians of the Galaxy as well, and I mean, we were proven wrong. So
I don't know
not-
if I did not feel that about Guardians.
I
I didn't
was
know
like,
anything
Guardians
about
would be
Guardians
cool.
of the
both you
Galaxy.
guys, come on.
I didn't
Come
even
on.
know
man.
anything about
I
Guardians
went
of the
into
Galaxy.
Guardians and being like, cool.
I
The
never-
tone of it, like the
I didn't even
trailer,
know
I was
anything
like,
about Guardians of the Galaxy, so I did not think it was going to bomb or do well. But because there was not a lot of lead up to it as far as this, but like Eternals, I saw a lot of trailers and stuff like that, and all the hype around it. And I was like, this movie looks really bad. I don't know what it is, but it looks
I had
like
higher hopes for Eternals.
I knew it was going to do really bad. Like just
Here's my final hot take of the evening. I enjoyed Black Widow more than this most recent Thor.
oh, interesting.
There's your soundbite, ladies and gentlemen. Look for that on my
It's
Instagram
better movie.
stories.
I kind of like it. I can see why you would say that. I did enjoy Thor. I mean,
Overall, there were no stakes in Black Widow, and there's stuff that they can expand on from this movie, and that's fine. But as a movie, as enjoyability and watchability, Black Widow is more entertaining.
Whew. So we'll dive into that next time, ladies and gentlemen, because we are out of time. That is a statement, and we will talk about that again later. But we are out of time. Quick up and coming. So we're gonna get back on our weekly schedule. So we'll have something else.
I have
probably
nothing to
talk about The
about
Boys
after
next
this.
week.
Oh, the boys.
I know it'll be a little late, but we're gonna talk about it. But a quick cap here of things that are coming real quick. So the next stuff we're looking forward to in the MCU, there's going to be the I Am Groot series of shorts. That's just not even really worth much. We have She-Hulk is the next big thing coming up on Disney Plus on August 17th. So keep an eye out for that. Lots of controversy already behind that because of the CGI and all that stuff. So interesting. Then we've got Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which I'm going to go on the record for. Here's my hot take. I'm not wild about the name of that movie. I just think there could be better options than Wakanda Forever. I'm fine. I'm still excited to see it. That's November 11th.
Less of a title and more of a tribute. And I'm okay
Yeah,
with that.
I get that. Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special on Disney Plus in late 2022. So they're gonna have like a little short, which is basically just gonna be like an intro. My guess is it's gonna be like in between where we saw them here in Thor to set up the movie.
Those
'cause
holiday
otherwise we've
specials
almost
have a history of always being good.
I'm looking forward to this one. I think it'll be interesting. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania in February. So we're into 2023, and then Guardians Volume 3 in May of 2023. The Marvels is exactly 1 year, almost exactly 1 year from now. So we just finished Miss Marvel and saw Captain Marvel, and now we have to wait a year to see what the fuck just happened from that moment, which is it's fine. I didn't expect anything less. Echo 2023, which we've got lots of confirmed players in. You've got like they filmed Kingpin, they have filmed pretty much all of the Defenders. Jessica Jones, all these people are showing up
Except
in Echo. Finn, I have heard nothing about
Mm,
what's his name, but
yeah,
most of them are showing up in this
he's not
show.
coming back. I mean, he's confirmed to not be coming back.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So,
but all the
okay.
confirmed people that were coming back are this is where they're coming back first. And then late 2023 is X-Men 97, and then a bunch of undated stuff, which we'll get into much later because
That's
we don't
the
need to go into
show,
that.
X-Men 97?
Yeah, they're picking up
Animated?
exactly where it left off.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. All the original, like most of the original voice actors, I can't say all of them are confirmed, but
Ooh,
I heard a recording of Wolverine, still got it, so I'm
okay.
cool.
30
I
years.
would have been nice if it was Steve Blum, but I'm okay that
Yeah.
it's this guy, that the original guy. So, um, stay tuned. Anyone watching live is going to be able to catch us play Stardew Valley in a little bit here. I think George is going to load up, if I'm not mistaken. Is that
Sure.
correct? I mean, are you
Yeah,
not?
I'm going to play.
Okay,
Let's go.
so we're gonna
He
do
sounds
that.
so excited.
If you are not watching us live and you're catching us on our Sunday YouTube channel, feel free to check out GJC327. You can see all three of us here, including my wife, playing Stardew Valley on our farm, and it's a super exciting time because me and her, this is our first, well, not our first, but our early introduction to the game. So it's fun to watch us all. This is the first game that at least the three of us have played together since like one of the Borderlands games. So,
Is this
one of
right?
the
That
early
can't be true.
ones.
Whoa.
So maybe Heroes. No, not even. You guys played that after me. Anyway, check it out. GJC327. Obviously, this is where you're watching us now, but if you're catching it on the Modern Nerd YouTube channel, which you should all definitely check out, make sure you like, subscribe to all of the things. You can see all of our socials now, so I don't have to read from the list. You can catch us all right there all the time. Dan might even post once in a while. It's just like Christmas whenever he posts. It's fantastic. You're like, "Yeah, Dan did something. It's cool." And then you're like, "Oh, all right, cool. It's just the thing." Um
Deserve it.
yeah. So every week. Um Check us out. Watch our old stuff. We've got a lot of great episodes in the past. There's you can catch us on audio if you don't want to. Look at that right there. The Modern Nerd Spotify. If you just want to walk around, if you're in your car, you're going for a run, you want to hear our soothing voices talk about Marvel things, please give us a like and
Not so
follow and
soothing.
subscribe. So soothing. I don't know what you're talking about. Other than that, we have been the Modern Nerd, and thank you for watching.